Thank you, Chairman Wyden and Ranking Member Crapo, for your leadership and for the strong bipartisan process on this bill. I think it's really, really important. You know, for most of the time that I've been in the Senate, almost all of the changes this body has made to the tax code have been to benefit the wealthiest Americans and make our income inequality worse. An exception was our work last year on the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, which for once made working families our priority. And it was our response to an economy that for 50 years has worked extremely well for the top 10% of Americans, but hasn't worked for anybody else. An economy where 90% of Americans haven't had a real pay raise, even though the cost of everything from health care to housing to higher education has continued to climb and climb and climb. And the people who come to my town halls, Mr. Chairman, tell me they're working incredibly hard, but no matter what they do, they can't afford a middle-class life. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They can't save. The families I used to work for in the Denver Public Schools, whose kids are mostly living in poverty, will say that no matter what they do and they're working 2 and 3 jobs, they can't get their kids out of poverty. This has left a lot of working families hanging by a thread with virtually no margin for error. In fact, a study from the Federal Reserve found that 30% of Americans would struggle to cover an emergency expense of $400, and that was before we had these high levels of inflation in the economy, driving up the cost of everything from gas to groceries to rent. All of this makes it much harder for working families to save for a rainy day, much less for a secure retirement. Among the poorest 20% of Americans, just 1 in 10 have a retirement account. And for the next 20%, the rate is 3 in 10. That means if you're looking at the Americans who benefited the least from our economy over the past 50 years, somewhere between 70 and 90% of them aren't able to save. That is not the sign of a healthy economy. It's not the sign of an economy that is working for everybody. It is a threat to our democracy when people don't believe they have opportunity for themselves or their families. So we have a lot of work to do as a committee and as a Congress and as a country to deal with that. And I know the EARN Act isn't a silver bullet, far from it, but it is a step forward, and I really appreciate it. I'm grateful that this legislation includes 5 bipartisan proposals that I've worked on with my Republican colleagues on the committee. My Enhancing Emergency and Retirement Savings Act with Senator Lankford would let workers take an emergency withdrawal of up to $1,000 from their employee-sponsored retirement accounts and IRAs without a penalty, so they can cover unforeseen expenses like a car repair or a doctor's visit or a sick kid without having to take on more debt or take a hit to their credit score. 2 of my bills with Senator Toomey would help public safety officers, people like firefighters and police officers and state and local corrections officers. They work physically demanding jobs, and they often retire early as a result. But when they want to access their retirement funds, they're hit with a penalty. Our bill puts an end to that. I have another proposal with Senator Collins to help the spouses of active duty service members save for retirement. It does this by giving small employers a tax credit of up to $500 a year if they make spouses eligible for the employer-sponsored retirement plan. And the last bill I want to mention, Mr. Chairman, is the Compassionate Retirement Act with my friend Senator Burr. It would let people battling terminal illnesses such as ALS access their retirement savings early without penalty. And I am so grateful to my Republican colleagues for working with me on these bills, and I want to thank again Chairman Wyden and Ranking Member Crapo for including them in the broader package. I also want to thank them for their leadership on making the Savers Credit fully refundable, which will ensure low-income workers can claim the credit and nearly double the number of people who qualify. All of these provisions respond to the profound and persistent financial insecurity that too many Americans still face in this economy. And while these bills can help, our real ambition should be to build an economy that enables people to not only make ends meet today, but also save for a secure future and turn a better life over to their kids and their grandkids, an economy where every American, not just the wealthiest 10%, can earn enough to put something away for a rainy day and have confidence they can retire with dignity. That should be our level of ambition in this committee and in this Congress, and I'm prepared to keep working with any of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to make sure we deliver it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to supporting this bill.
Thank you, Senator Bennet. And you are a major author of this bill. I mean, you have made significant bipartisan contributions. This is what this committee has always tried to be about with respect to retirement. I thank you for the good work.